Okay, so Porsche's in the shop. We'll go over a couple things real quick. This will be a really quick video. Just an update on the status. So, it is finally come to time to get this in the shop. What a milestone. So, big shout out to Blue and Gray Towing. If you guys ever need a tow, really reasonable rates, really friendly service. It's really great. So, the Nighthawk, still in pieces, still haven't been able to get to anything, but I have been, I finally got my tools in. I'll show you this real quick. These aren't anything special. This set of 1, 2, 3 blocks. Bought another set of calipers. These are from iGaging. We'll see, these are, so far I've been testing these out with these 1, 2, 3 blocks, cross-referencing them, and so far everything has been measuring out really nicely. Feeler gauges, nothing special there. Digital bore gauge. When I go to work on the Nighthawk, I'll actually go over that. And the nice thing about this is it's digital, it's not a dial. So for someone stupid like me, I don't have to do the math. And also a set of calipers. A couple straight edges. These are really nice straight edges. So the Nighthawk this weekend should be able to get across and measure this bore, work on the head, and all that stuff. So finally got my shop all cleaned up. The engine is going in that. So let's talk about the Porsche real quick. Pretty rough on the paint. I mean, it's paint, but it's it's not. There's not much sticking left to it. I'm sure if I washed it, there'll be a lot of paint that comes off of it. That'll probably happen ages from now. So let's kind of go over. Whole car. This side of the car is fine. Couple little dents, but nothing you can't see without a light. Most of the damage is on, actually all the damage is right here on this corner. Bumper I should be able to heat up and pull back out. Lights aren't broken, should be able to put those back in place and pull this corner out. And it's also pushed in the whole rear fender, and you have a dent right here. So other than that, other than a little mildew and a cracked dashboard, everything is really nice in here. It's got 72,000 miles on it, and when I bought it, absolutely no rust, because I went through his entire car. The guy who sold it to me is also a tow truck driver, so I had a bit of time while he did a job real quick. So I spent about 45 minutes going through the entire car, top to bottom, pulling up some of the carpet, going underneath it. There's absolutely no rust other than what you see back here. And I'm pretty sure these are still galvanized. Cars, I'm not 100% sure on that, but so let's pop the hood. And I left my block of wood back at the house. But right now, let me just hang on a second. Let's grab this jack pole here. Just hold the hood up. Okay. So, no engine. Just got the transmission. It's all that stuff in there. So I'm figuring the cross brace down there is going to be my biggest challenge with the oil pan. Not to go into too much about what I need to do, but I want to use the factory engine mounts. This side shouldn't be that terribly difficult to get that engine mount to work, but the AC compressor and the alternator are going to have to move, and the water pump is why I'm going to do an electric water pump, because the steering knuckle right about, I've measured it out, right about here is right about where the AC compressor sits. And right about here, about right there, is the front of the engine, where the timing belt cover is, right about there. So the oil pan sits, I think, ends like right here. So this section, I may box out the oil pan, I may do a dry sump. I really haven't come down to a determination on that, but what my plan is take the transmission off of this Jetta, cut it right here at the bell housing, right where the clutch and everything is in there, and junk the rest of the transmission and keep the bell housing and all that stuff. And I'm probably going to end up buying, because this one didn't come with it, the previous owner who had it couldn't find the, we actually went over to where he had the engine pulled out of this, and we couldn't find the bell housing. So I need the bell housing to cut off the back of the bell housing to weld to that one and make my own bell housing. And I want to use I'm thinking I'm going to use the shaft. I'm going to cut the shaft off the gears off of this. So you still have the Volkswagen shaft going into the clutch assembly. And I'm going to pull the torque tube. That's what they call these, the torque tube, or just call it the drive shaft. I don't give a shit. Pull that out, mock it up. It's going to be a lot of measuring and a lot of careful jig making and whatnot, and cut off these splines and weld on the shaft so it's the right length, and then just bolt it to it. And then the two engine mounts, because I'm getting rid of the water pump and the AC. I'm still going to run the AC and everything. I'm just going to move the bracket and do some funny work with the serpentine belt and figure that out. But I'm going to do electric water pump, and I can move the alternator anywhere I want, really. That's probably not going to be a problem. The injection pump's probably going to sit right here, right next to the brake booster. So the two tricks I'm going to have are the starter motor on this is going to be up against that firewall. So hopefully I can mock everything up and mount the engine where I want it to, and still be able to remove things like the starter and all of the accessories off the motor without having to pull the motor out. It's kind of the challenge behind some of these swaps. I know some of the other guys have been doing some of these swaps, but a couple people have been interested in this because they're also doing a swap to an AHU in one of these, so that's fun. Be talking with you guys about it, but that's pretty much, there's not much else to talk about besides it's here and everything's ready to go. So working on Nighthawk next week. I've got to replace my deck. That's going to be this next coming couple weeks. So probably in a month, I would say I can probably actually start working on this. The first step is to pull. Oh, this is just some stuff from the van and whatnot. I just don't really have a good spot for them. Which I may end up chopping this radiator up and using this, making my own radiator for it. Because there is a radiator. Actually, that's the AC that's in there. It's not the radiator, so I may end up making a radiator for it, or just to be determined. That's probably one of the last things that gets done on this engine swap, is putting a radiator in here. I haven't figured that out. Probably just use the OEM radiator for this. The first step is to take apart the engine, all the stuff that's on it and everything, and then as it is, with everything still bolted on, the alternator, AC, all that stuff, we're just going to drop it in here and see how it fits and what I can get away with. I am hoping that, I think that's a pretty big hope. I don't think that the AC compressor is actually going to fit where I want it, so I'm going to have to move that. I'll probably move it up and put an idler pulley or something right there. So, yep, pretty cool. Alright, well, that's it for this video. Just a quick update. I know it's pretty boring, but trust me, things will start to get a little more exciting Got some extra cameras on the way, so when I start doing a bunch of different work, I can have videos of me actually doing the work. It's kind of the hardest part about making these videos is getting the footage of doing the work and then putting it together. So I know I said I'm not going to do any editing. I'll probably do a little bit of editing now that I know kind of what I'm getting into, because I don't make YouTube videos for a living or anything like that. Just a gearhead. So, all right. Well, I'll catch you later.